Hello, welcome to day 6, I think it is, of the Affaircare, where we're going over our basic concepts. And I wanted to just say again, welcome and thank you so much for keeping up with the series. Today we will be going over Love Kindler number 5, which is family commitment. And so just to recap a little bit, I'm doing all of this because we are planning to introduce a new program, which is going to be 90 days to save your marriage and save you. And this program is going to be built on our basic concepts. So I thought it would be cool if we just went through day by day what the basic concepts are, and then kind of had a little review. And each day we're going through one and going just a little bit more in depth, so that you could understand what we're talking about when you join the program. So if you would like to learn more about our basic beliefs and how we talk about and view love, I would suggest that you look at our very first video, which is called Intro Basic Concepts. And I would encourage you to look through this whole series, because in so far almost every other one I've done a little intro that explains that what we think of love, that love's like a campfire, that there are actions that would put out the love, and that would be a love extinguisher, and that there are actions that will grow the love. Those are called love kindlers. Now, this week we have been going through the love kindlers one by one to explain more so what they are. We started with the first one, that is emotional commitment, meeting your spouse's emotional needs. Emotional needs such as the need to be loved, valued, accepted for who they are, admired, appreciated, the feelings. We also went over number 2, spiritual commitment. This is committing to your spouse's spiritual growth, and we discussed what it means to be a Christian. We went over number 3, probably our most popular one so far. That is physical commitment, meeting your spouse's physical needs. Some of it is regular non-sexual touch. Some of it is a mutually fulfilling sex life. And some of it is the need to be physically attracted to your spouse. That's not to say you have to be physically perfect, but please go ahead and accentuate the positive things and attributes physically that you do have. And yesterday we discussed the financial commitment, which is meeting your spouse's monetary needs. This is not to say that one spouse gets to say, we get to live all hoity-toity and you can never achieve that financial goal, but rather that you hit a mutual agreement for your finances, that you both discipline yourselves to live by the agreement you made, the budget. You contribute to your monthly bills and living within your means, not overspending and living beyond your means, and that you both are contributing to the income. Sometimes one of you will contribute by going out of the house to work, and one of you will contribute by being the one who primarily takes care of the home and the children and the household chores. But then, even then, you're both contributing. The one is free to go to work because the other one takes over the majority of the household. So we discussed that all yesterday. Today we'll just be discussing Love Kindler number 5, which is family commitment. This is meeting your spouse's needs as regards to the family. Now, as you know, the Bible has a lot to say about family. The Lord wants children to honor their parents. The Lord He says a lot to us about marriage and how we should, husbands should love their wives as Christ loved the church, and wives should respect their husbands. There's also, word to the parents to not, drive your children crazy with crazy making attitudes and bad parenting. So the Bible has a lot to say to us about family, and what I wanted to focus on today was 4 main topics, if you will. The first is in meeting this commitment and adding kindlers, which will make the fire grow in your marriage, you would commit to adult alone time with your spouse. When there's a family, it is very typical to be tempted to put all your effort and thoughts and energy and income and everything into raising the children. And you get so focused on the children that you forget to nurture your marriage and your intimate relationship with your spouse. So one way to meet the family commitment would be to have a family that is so strong it will not face divorce. It will not face the breakup that so many people now face. It's so hard and so painful. So don't put your children through that. Yes, you love them. Yes, you sacrifice for them and dedicate time to them and things. But give them the security of a strong marriage. That'll be the foundation of security for them. So commit to adult alone time with your spouse. Also, that does not mean necessarily that you have to, this is committing to sex time, nor, when I say adult time, I just mean without your children. It's just the two of you, and you're doing things that the two of you enjoy. And I'm not even being saying, hey, you got to be exclusive. Yeah, you need to put some time aside for just the two of you, to be grown-ups, to be doing things that connect the two of you. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. The second part I'd like to discuss is dedicating individual time for the children. Now, I don't know about you, I personally have 7 children, and dedicating individual time for them is hard. You may say, 7, wow, how did you do that? Well, I would like to still encourage you to say, look, I have this certain time set aside for this one, and this certain time set aside for this one. What I used to do is I had kind of like a day for each child, and that day they got to pick the meal and a show or an activity we would do together. We, that is to say, the child and I. So, in this way, you get to spend time with your child, you get to know them, you get to talk to them, and I did not encourage all the time watching a show together, a TV show, because then you just sit by each other. Instead, if it was a show, which sometimes that happens, right, pick a show, and then you have to talk about it for as long as the show is. If the show's half an hour, you have to talk for half an hour afterward. That was my little rule. And then that way, everybody had a day. Sometimes the event or activity was to go to one of their little activities, and sometimes the activity was they would pick, play a board game or whatever, but they knew that was their dedicated time for them. This helps everybody feel special, and it gives you time to get to know the children, but also valuable time to teach them. Of course, during the week, as things come up, you take, time with them, but that way, you dedicated alone time with your spouse, you also dedicate time individually for the children. Okay, the third little topic to discuss regarding family commitment is sharing household chores. Now, I guarantee you that everyone who's married thinks, I'm doing all the work and they aren't even helping. I'm not sure why we feel like that, but I think almost everyone I've ever met feels that way, at least sometimes. So, the first thing I would encourage you is that to acknowledge or realize that at times everyone feels that way. Maybe there's a time of stress or a time of crisis, and it feels like the burden is too much. Well, when you find your mind thinking like that, the first thing I would suggest is you need to catch yourself at it and change your thinking right then. As soon as you think that, then think the next thing, which is, I think of 2 things. One is, am I serving? Because right now, in the way the world is, everyone is thinking of themselves and what they want and their luxury and their convenience. Instead, as Christians, we should be serving our spouse. So the first thing I think of is, am I serving? Am I serving willingly and happily and lovingly? So the second thing I think is, of a positive thing, because what I want to do is train my mind to not think of and dwell on the negative things, but rather to think of and dwell on the positive. And this helps me then to grow love. It's a Kindler activity to think of the positive things about my spouse. So the minute I catch myself thinking those things, I will go to those two things. Am I serving happily, willingly, and lovingly? And if not, I need to change my attitude, not them. And then number two, think of a positive thing right then and there about my spouse, so that I can dwell on that for a little while I'm doing whatever chore I need to be doing. Then, after, the chore is done and a little time has gone by, I might think to myself, am I being realistic? And look at the chores. It is conceivable, and I know this is fairly regular when you have one person that's a stay-at-home person and one who's an at-work person. What happens is the person who goes to work thinks, I'm going to go to work, I'm going to work, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. with including drive time or whatever. I'm going to come home, I get to relax. But the stay-at-home person, they get up with the babies during the night, they get the kids off to school, they work all day long, probably chasing kids in the house during the day, prepare meals, do dishes, do laundry, and then here comes the one to come home. They just sit down and relax. And the other one, what are they doing? Serving them dinner, getting the kids bath, helping them with homework, putting the kids to bed. And the one who stays home actually never does get to relax also. So what I would suggest is, if you think to yourself, am I being realistic? And it does really, for real, seem to you that there's an inequality, rather than saying, you're not doing enough, I would suggest saying, could we talk? And I explain to them, how it feels to you or how it seems to you, what you think, what you feel, and then make the request what you'd like. So, for example, you might say, I think that the chores are unequal. I feel like you get to come home and sit down and relax, and I have to go 24 hours a day. And so I would like to ask if it would be possible if you would take the kids' bath tonight so that I could have a little downtime. Then, let's say the spouse says yes or no, then you just negotiate from there. Does that make sense? So just ask for what you want, let them know what you think, how you feel, and ask for what you want. It's reasonable. And then sometimes, how people are, they'll say yes or no or whatever. Then maybe you can just say, well, I'm not able to get to this today, so I'm going to let it go. I'm not going to do that chore today. You're not trying to be obnoxious but sometimes you need a little time to just decompress or whatever. That's okay too. Just let them know that that's what you're doing. Today, I'm not going to get at the dishes because I'm too exhausted. I'm putting them off till tomorrow. Okay? Does that make sense? So you do need to talk about it. If you're the person who goes to work, don't come home and think, I just get to sit down now. It's time for you to share the chores. And if you're the person who stays at home, don't think, share them together. Sometimes what works for me too is both of you do homework together, so that the whole family's sitting and doing homework. Both of you do the kids' bath and putting them to bed. That way, you're doing it together. It feels like fun. And then both of you go sit down and sit down. See what I mean? So you do it like a team. And then when you're a team, you're together, and that's good. Okay, and then the last part is kind of related. It's sharing the child rearing. Now here on this one, the common thing that I hear from that's kind of an extinguisher is one parent has to be the bad guy and do all the discipline, and the other one gets to be the good guy and is like their buddy and will never say anything mean, to the kids. Well, again, that's not fair. You guys need to back each other up, and you need to both enforce the discipline. Do not put your spouse in the position of being the bad guy all the time. And when I say all the time, I literally do mean that word. Every single time discipline is required. Now, I understand that sometimes people will be tired and they feel like they have to do it, quote, all the time. If in real fact you look at it and you review and you can say, well, there was one time when my spouse, then it really isn't all the time. So there's a time where you would need to change your thinking. A majority of the time it happens. I do it more than you. But you see what I mean? How our minds will think that all the time thing. in real life, where you want to aim to is that there's an issue with the child. They're doing something naughty. The two of you would say, I believe this is an issue. The other spouse would say, okay, I agree this is an issue. You would say, how are we going to address it? I say we put them in timeout. I say we do a spanking. How about if we do one swat to the butt and 10 minutes in timeout? Okay, I agree to that. You carry that out together as a team, and then you enforce it as a team. And then what will happen is, like as an example, I would encourage spouses to always have this little unwritten rule between them. What one spouse enforces, the other one will absolutely back up, even if they disagree with it in front of the kids. And then if you do disagree with it, you would go to the spouse who enforced it, speak to them and explain why you disagree. And if they, like, you know, after discussing it back and forth, they go, I hear what you're saying and I agree with you, I need to change. Then the spouse who enforced it is the one who goes to the child and says, I've discussed it with your mother, your father, and we have reached an agreement and I've changed my mind. I'm going to do this. This way the kids know that they can't, like, dad says I'm in timeout, I'm going to go ask mom if I'm in timeout, and mom just overrules dad. That just cuts down their authority. No, we don't want to do that. You always back up the other parent. And then if the other parent wants to change their mind, cool. Do you see what I'm saying? So you're going to dedicate adult time alone with your spouse. You're going to dedicate individual time with your children. You're going to share the household chores, and I specifically sort of suggest share making lunches, share putting them in the bath, share doing the homework, and then share sitting down. And then lastly, you're going to share the child rearing. So that would be back each other up, decide if it's an issue together, decide how to enforce it together, and then actually enforce it together so that you're not making one parent be the bad guy and one parent be the good guy. Okay, if you have any comments or suggestions or anything, please go ahead and add them to the comments in the blog. I would encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, or if you're listening maybe on the podcast, subscribe to the podcast. We would love to have you be our subscriber. And lastly, just keep coming back. Tomorrow we will be discussing social commitment, which means like including your spouse in your social life and your social activities. So see you tomorrow. Hope you have a great day. Bye.